their hands on her and heal her so she can live. Jesus went with him, and all the people followed, crowding around him. Now, that word crowding, the better translation would be compressed, to compress. So there's this moment. So it's not like there's one or two people. It's jammed up, crowded tight. All right, so you think Disney World spring break. You think national championship downtown. You think New Year's Eve at Times Square. Jammed up, people around. Now, I don't know about you, but let me just kind of let you know some personal things. I don't like compressed crowds. Like, I just get a little frustrated, I get a little tense, a little agitated. Is there anybody in here that go, Chris, I'm in that same boat? Oh, okay, good. 9:30, I didn't get that many hands, so this is where my, anxious people are. Good. If there's crowd, I cannot focus straight. I'm not the best Christian in those places. If you see me and go, man, he's kind of a jerk, forgive me, all right? So, and Jesus is there in this moment. So there's people all around him crowding. They're wanting to see Jesus. This guy Jairus comes to him and goes, hey, my daughter's sick. Can you come heal her? And he goes, yes. And he goes on the way to meet his little girl. She's 12, to meet her and to heal her. But then something interesting happens here in this moment. Look, continue reading, verse 25. It says, a woman in the crowd had suffered for 12 years with constant bleeding. She had suffered a great deal from many doctors, and over the years she had spent everything she had to pay them, but she had gotten no better, and in fact, she had gotten worse. She had heard about Jesus, so she came up behind him through the crowd and touched his robe, for she thought to herself, if I can just touch his robe, I will be healed. And immediately the bleeding had stopped, and she could feel in her body that she had been healed of her terrible condition. It's the exact opposite of Jairus. Jairus has a name. This woman is anonymous. Jairus is a leader in the synagogue. People would know him and be influential. More than likely, he would have a lot of money. This woman doesn't want to be seen and has spent all her money on doctors, but she thinks to herself, if I can just touch the fringe of his robe, like if I can just get close enough and touch it, then I will be healed. And so she sneaks in, people to crowd around, she's pushing her way through, elbowing her way through. She touches the fringe of her robe, and all of a sudden, she's healed. And there's people all around, and all of a sudden, Jesus stops, and look what happened. Verse 30. Jesus realized at once that healing power had gone out from him, and so he turned around in the crowd and asked, who touched my robe? His disciples said to him, look at this crowd pressing around you. How can you ask, who touched me? Or they asked, like, what do you mean, who hasn't touched your robe, Jesus? No. This is different. Somebody touched me. Well, Jesus, I don't know if you know this. There's a lot of people, like we can barely move. I mean, I'm sure we bumped into you accidentally, Jesus. No, this is different. Healing power left me. Who touched me? And so he stops and begins to look. Look at verse 32. It says, but he kept on looking around to see who had done it. Then the frightened woman, trembling at the realization of what had happened to her, came and fell to her knees in front of him and told him what she had done. It's crowded, it's chaos, there's people all around. And don't forget, Jesus is on his way to Jairus' house to heal the daughter. He stops and he's looking around. Who touched me? Well, Jesus, there's a lot of people. No, somebody touched me. Healing power left. And all of a sudden, this lady, she comes and she falls, scared to death, I'm sure embarrassed. And then listen to the words of Jesus. And you almost get this sense of empathy and tone in his voice. Verse 34. And he said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Your suffering is over. There in this moment, scared to death, completely broke. Doctors have no cures for her. She touches the fringe of it, hoping to sneak out so nobody knows. It all of a sudden stops. She realizes they're looking for her. She falls scared to death, and she hears the words, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Now don't forget, they're on the way to Jairus' house. There's a delay. Look what happens. Very next verse, verse 35. While he was still speaking to her, the woman, messengers arrived from the home of Jairus, the leader of the synagogue. And they told him, Your daughter is dead. There's no use troubling the teacher now. Now, if you're a dad, especially a dad of a daughter, you can put yourself in his shoes very, very easily. 12-year-old daughter is sick, near the end of her life, but there's still hope. Jesus is coming through town. You go and meet Jesus. If you can maybe convince him to come see her, maybe there would be some hope. You do convince him. Oh my goodness, there's all these people and Jesus is coming, so Jesus is on his way. All of a sudden, Jesus stops and you look back and he's talking to this woman and she's on her knees and there's chaos. And while he's talking, your buddies come up and say, hey, Jairus, we have bad news. What? She's dead. And if you're a dad, your knees would just buckle. Because you had that moment where you're going, well, there's some hope. Jesus is on his way and now she's dead. Now it's not a healing. Now I've got to have Jesus, a miracle worker, bring her back from the dead. And so all these thoughts are processing through. And there was this moment, this hope. I'm sure he was excited, and now all hope is lost. And Jesus overhears, verse 36, Jesus overheard them. And he said to Jairus, don't be afraid, just have faith. Then Jesus stopped the crowd and wouldn't let anyone go with him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they came to the home of the synagogue leader, Jesus saw commotion and weeping and wailing. And he went inside and asked, why all this commotion and weeping? The child isn't dead, she's only asleep. The crowd laughed at him, but he made them all leave, and he took the girl's father and mother and his 3 disciples into the room where the girl was lying. And here's what he said. Holding her hand, he said to her, Talitha koum, which in Aramaic means little girl, get up. And the girl, who was 12 years old, immediately stood up and walked around, and they were overwhelmed and totally amazed. And what I want you to grasp from this story is that this chaos, this pandemonium, this schedule that Jesus is trying to keep, people are all around him there in these moments with the anonymous woman and with the synagogue leader Jairus. In those moments, he met them at a personal level. And no matter where you're at, what moment you're walking out, if you will give Jesus a chance, he will meet you right where you are at and take you forward with him. And as you study Jesus and you look at Jesus, what I want you to grasp from his life to overlay on your own life is the fact that he did not let the chaos of life overshadow moments with people. And in your life, I know you're busy, you're running 100 miles an hour, but do not let the chaos of life overshadow moments with people. Don't allow the chaos of your life, school, schedule, work, carpool, errands, everything that life is, don't allow that to overshadow those individual moments with people. And then maybe a better phrase for you is don't allow the chaos of life to overshadow moments with Jesus. You see, there in that moment, Jesus stopped the crowd and the chaos, met the woman and said, daughter, your faith has made you well. I think all too often we have schedules to keep, we have places to go, people